Meanwhile, this breaking news right now. Breaking news overnight, an explosion rocks a FedEx facility near San Antonio, Texas, shortly after midnight last night when a package bound for Austin blew up on the conveyor belt. FBI agents believe this latest incident is likely tied to the 4 recent bombings in Austin. I want to bring in Congressman Babin right now. Congressman, thanks very much for joining us this morning. This is not your district, I know, but what is your reaction to what's happening in New York State?
It seems like deja vu all over again with the Unabomber. We've got to look at the evidence here. Obviously, this package was bound for Austin, even though it exploded in Church, Texas, which is just outside of San Antonio. But you've got someone out there who is very, very evil. Who is, I think, the third explosion was a package on the side of the road that injured two young people. So we've got to get to the bottom of this and solve this crime, and hopefully very rapidly, so that we can keep that area safe.
Governor Abbott in Texas has been trying to appeal to what could be a serial bomber, saying, please communicate with us. Do we know anything about the perpetrator?
To my knowledge, I don't have any information on that. I was with the governor the other day. We didn't talk about this. But this is absolutely a terrorist activity. We have no clue who this is. Absolutely no clue. I'm sure the FBI and the law enforcement agencies that are looking into this have some tips, some clues. But I haven't heard anything about it, Maria.
All right, Congressman, let me move on because the president is set to hold a roundtable discussion with law enforcement on sanctuary cities today at the White House. This comes, of course, after the president linked border security to the fight against America's deadly opioid epidemic yesterday while he was in New Hampshire. Here's what he had to say.
90% of the heroin in America comes from our southern border, where eventually the Democrats will agree with us and will build the wall to keep the damn drugs out.
The White House is now reviving the idea of allocating $25 billion for the long-promised border wall in exchange for a 30-month extension on DACA. Democrats, they're still balking at the idea, though, Congressman, right? I mean, the president called them out last night in a tweet. He said the Democrats do not want to help DACA. Would be so easy to make a deal. What do you make of all of this? And is it realistic to even think a DACA deal happens this year?
You know, I think that this is a problem. But is this the biggest problem that we face today? No, it's not. The biggest problem we're facing today is unsecured borders, which DACA is a result of. So I couldn't agree more. I think the president is doing the right thing by offering a deal. Hopefully, if they're very serious about helping these DACA young folks, that they will come to the table and maybe we can work something out. But we must secure this border before we do anything else.
But they haven't come to the table, right, Congressman? I mean, let's face it. Are they just using this as a campaign issue? They want to use this in November during the midterms? Is that the issue here?
Well, they never let a crisis go, unexploited. That's the way that works with them. But I am proud of Los Alamitos, California, which is city council, a city out there, which has voted almost unanimously, I think. It wasn't quite unanimous on the city council to go along with the federal immigration laws,
right,
and go against their own state. I'm glad to see that there are a few elected officials out there that are willing to live up to their oaths of office to uphold the Constitution of the United States.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought this up. This is one California city, but at least, Los Alamitos is standing up against the state sanctuary law, voting yesterday to exempt itself from the rules that limit cooperation between local police and federal officials. A second vote is planned for next month to make this official. Do you think they make it official? And will we see more cities in California do this? I mean, it is pretty extraordinary to have an entire state blow off federal law.
Well, there's so much political pressure. I mean, there were dozens and dozens of people that were there protesting what the city councilmen were doing there. So there's a lot of pressure put on these various municipalities and counties out there to go along, to get along with the governor and the state legislature, which is so far radically left. when it comes to these types of things. But I don't call them sanctuary cities anymore. I call them criminal fugitive cities, because that's exactly what they are. They are putting the lives and property of their own citizens at great risk in order to help criminal aliens. It's incomprehensible to me.
Which is exactly what the mayor of Oakland did, putting the ICE agents in harm's way by, alerting the illegals that they're coming. Let me switch gears here, Congressman, and ask you about the Omni bill. House Republicans obviously burning the midnight oil last night to set the stage for both chambers to vote on a $1.3 trillion budget plan ahead of Friday's shutdown deadline. Healthcare and immigration reform, major sticking points. Where are you on this?
You know what? I've got to know exactly what's in it before I can tell you whether I'm going to support this thing or not. I know it's good on defense. I think we're spending more on the military than we have in many, many years, if not ever. But our military has got to be rebuilt. However, there's some other things in there that may or may not be in there, and I want to see before I make the final determination of whether I'm going to vote for it. There are several issues that I have been working on, trying to get some provisions inside the Omni. We're still working on those, so it remains to be seen. We should hear today.
Well, I mean, how do you compare this to what we just saw a month ago, where there was $300 billion in extra spending and people were scratching their heads saying, OK, you want to spend money on the military, but did you have to promise all of this other stuff to do so?
Well, you do, because the ones that have to go along with this thing are Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. So we know that we've got to have 9 Democrats in the U.S. Senate to bring this up for a vote. We've still got the filibuster rule over there. We could pass really a good conservative bill in the U.S. House, and we have on many occasions. And they go over to the Senate and they sit there gathering dust. But we've got the filibuster rule. There's only 51 Republican senators. We need 60 votes to bring it up for onto the floor. And so we have to have 9 Democrats to come along with us, and that gives a veto to Chuck Schumer. And so this is the problem that we're having. I still think that we ought to have some changes in the cloture or the filibuster rules so that we can bring some appropriations or national security issues up using a simple majority rather than having to depend on 9 Democrats.
Right.
We didn't have a single Democrat vote for our tax cuts and jobs bill.
I know.
And great things are happening there.
Well, they're going to have to explain that, Congressman, right? Going into the midterms, they're going to have to explain why not one Democrat voted for the tax bill. But what's holding up this right now, this bill? I mean, what do the Democrats want that you're questioning?
Oh, well, they want, we want border security. We want to fund the military. They want correspondingly increased spending in many of their pet programs. And we're already at $21 trillion of national debt. We're going to be hitting a $1 trillion deficit this year. And we've got to get serious on spending in this country. I ran for 13 reasons, Maria, my 13 grandchildren, about to have the 14th one. And we've got to preserve our fiscal solvency here. If we go, we won't be able to borrow money in the next
pretty extraordinary, because they want all this stuff and they put you in a corner to do it, and after it's all said and done, they complain about debt.
They really do. They complained about the debt, strangely, when we were coming up with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. That was the first time I'd ever heard them complain about it in many, many years. But we've got to solve our fiscal problem here.
Yeah.
That is one of the most dangerous things out there in our future.
Congressman,
and that is.
Yep, it's good to have you on the program this morning. Thanks so much.